Right now we're going to talk about how you can track your applications within the VCast apps process. So the first thing you would do after logging in to the portal is coming to the dashboard here on the home page and selecting the Go button next to Track My Apps. This will bring you over to the Go to Market section of the VDC. And you'll see here I've only got a few applications as this is a test account, but as you scroll over you'll see the large icon appear, and that'll give you another indication of which application you're referencing. Within this table you'll see your application title. If it's an NBI, which is the navigation API, the platform, the last time it was edited, and then the status. So if I double click here, it'll tell me where those devices are within the process. For example, on this application, I'll see that 3 devices are within the testing and certification process. Now if I wanted to get more detail, I could actually click on the application name. So in this case I'll use Car Extreme, and it'll bring up all the different devices associated to that platform. So in this example, this application, Car Extreme, has 52 devices associated to it. You'll notice some of these are Android as well as BlackBerry as I scroll to the bottom of the list here. If you wanted to get additional information on that specific device, you would just simply select the device tile. Once the device tile comes up, you'll be able to see all the information associated to that application for that device. So in this example, as I scroll down, what we see is the device that I had selected was the Samsung Continuum. It's been in the submission process for 22 days, and once again this is just a test app. And on the bottom here you'll see these chevron arrows, and this will tell you where that app is, or this specific device, throughout the process. So it'll tell you when it was submitted on 8/30. Then it'll tell you through each of the business approvals what time they had actually gone through the process and what's the status. So in my case all these had been approved. And as an application goes through the business approvals, you can select multiple devices when you initially submit your application. So let's say for example I have 20 devices that are available for that application. If I select all 20 devices, as it goes through that process, everything is grouped together. So if I make any changes to metadata or anything within that time period of the business approvals, which is content programming through content standards through legal and tax, those changes are applied across all devices. Once it has gone through the tax stage in which a tax code is assigned, and then it hits into testing and certification, each device is now viewed independently. And that's so that when it goes through testing, if one device happens to fail, it doesn't hold hostage the remaining devices. So in my example, if we had 20 devices, and let's say on one device it failed, I would get those test results back for that one failed device, but the other 19 can continue through the process and actually get launched, stocked, and be in market. So if you want to see where you are, you'll look at this status. That'll give you a little bit of an idea. You'll also see what platform it was launched on, VCast apps in this case, what the OS is, Android in this case, your binary name. The version is just an internal identifier. So if you were to launch a new version as an upgrade, or let's say your binary failed testing and you had to do a fix and submit a new version, that version will increment up. What we'll also show is all the metadata associated with this application. So this is the information that you had entered when you initially submitted your application. So here we are on the Overview tab. As I click through these tabs, I'll show you all the information that's available. So we click on the Binaries tab. This is the last binary that was submitted. If I needed to upload a new binary, either because the application had failed testing for that device or because I had a new upgrade, I would simply click this button, browse on my desktop, find the new binary, and then upload it. If this application had already gone through approvals, business approvals, it doesn't need to go back through unless some of the metadata had changed. So the binary would still need to be tested, but it would not need to go through business approvals. If we click on the Info tab, this is a lot of the information, the metadata associated with this application. Now, if you choose to make an edit to the metadata, then it will need to go back through the business approval process. They will have the ability to see exactly what has changed from this version from the last version, so it'll make it a much quicker process, and these edits can be done throughout the process. So once again, if you make an edit to the metadata while it's still in the business approvals, that edit will apply to all devices associated. So in my last example, those were 20 devices. So if I change the short description, that would be applied to all 20 devices. If the application had already moved through the business approval section and now was in testing and certification, I can still make a change to the metadata, but it would only affect that specific device. Now this can work to your advantage if you wanted to have a specific attribute called out for a specific device. For example, you launch on a tablet and you want to bring out some features that are more applicable to a tablet experience. You can go in and change those descriptions or the screenshots or whatever the metadata you'd like to change, and it would be applicable just to that one device. So as we go through here, we can see the other metadata associated with it. You'll have your graphics. So here I selected the graphics, and you'll see all the metadata associated with those. Once again, if you'd like to change anything, just select the trash can icon. That'll delete it. Then you can browse for the new icon or screenshot. The icons are on the top. If I scroll down, then it'll also show me what my application screenshots are. The pricing. This is where you can change the pricing for your application. Foreign language. So right now we support Spanish, and this is where you could put in those or make edits. The legal tab is where all the different questions you had answered based upon the initial setup. So if you have update to your LBS checklist or for the encryption, you can actually add that new document right here. You'd browse and submit that, and it would overwrite the previous one. The History tab shows you all the activities that had occurred on this application. So in this case, it tells you when it was actually submitted, when it went through all 4 business approvals, when it went through testing and certification, and published. If there was an RFI from Verizon Wireless, you would see that information shown here as well. So you'd see the initial question, and you could see your response all in this section. This is beneficial for if another person within the company needs to see the status of an application that maybe they hadn't worked on specifically. They can go into the history section and see everything that had occurred with that. The testing results will only show information if the application actually failed testing. So in this case it did not fail, but if it had, the results would be shown right here, so you could see right in with the application metadata exactly what was the issue. If you have a message, and I will show this in another video, but you would click on this message indicator here, this red envelope, and that's where you would see the response and the how you can reply to it. The export button will allow you to export all the metadata associated with all the different devices for this specific application. So this is useful if you need to see differences between fields for the same application. So this covers the information within the device and application detail screens.